Welcome to Chamber Chat. I'm John Terr, President and CEO of the Boulder Chamber, and I welcome you to another conversation about important issues that are critical to our business community, but also the community at large. And today we're going to be talking about CU South and the proposed annexation agreements. And we have some distinguished guests with us to talk about that proposed annexation agreement. We have the mayor of our fine city, Sam Weaver, and we also have Derek Silva, who is the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Business Strategy. So we'll have a conversation with these two folks in just a second, but first, a couple of announcements. So, many of you know that one passion, aside from caring about our business community, is disc golf. And that's why the Boulder Chamber has its very own disc golf throwdown. And that's going to be occurring next Wednesday, July 28th at 4 to 6 p.m. at Harlow Platts Disc Golf Course. So make sure to register online, get out your best disc, and make sure to compete against myself. And also, I'm hearing that this guy's going to be showing up. All right, so Disc Golf Throwdown, that's on July 28th. And then we have our Leadership Fellows Program application deadline coming up. And they're due June 26th. And Leadership Fellows, for those who don't know, it's an incredible opportunity to learn about our community, what makes it tick, from the economy to our civic leadership to our arts, all of the elements that make this community special. So you learn about that, but also you develop your own leadership skills so that you can become an active participant in our decision-making and activities in our community. So Leadership Fellows, I was a Leadership Fellow graduate, and so can you be. Make sure to get your application in by June 26th. And then we have our next Business Women's Leadership Group program. It's going to be a fascinating program, and it's called Women in the Workplace Post-COVID-19, because we know that COVID-19 had disparate impacts, and in particular on women in the workplace. And so we want to have a conversation with our Business Women's Leadership Group about that subject. We're going to have an excellent panel of business women leaders, and that conversation is going to happen on August 11th at 8 a.m. So make sure to register for that program. And then finally, and somewhat relevant to our conversation, we're getting ready for the start of football season. And so we're going to have our 32nd annual Boulder Chamber Colorado Football Kickoff Gala event. And that's going to occur on August 20th. Details are coming. Want to make sure to see you out there. It is going to be a wonderful kickstart to a fabulous in-person football season. We're looking forward to that. And it's more about the spirit of the connection that the business community has to our university. So coincidentally, we would have that conversation about another opportunity for collaboration between the city and the university and how important that connection is. And today's conversation is about the CU South property and the proposed annexation of that site for a variety of reasons. And so before we get into the details of the proposed annexation agreement, which we'll be discussing, just wonder, Derek, if you don't mind just giving us a little background on the property itself and how the CU became the owner of that site.
Sure, thanks, John. So we purchased the property in 1996, and the intent behind the purchase is to really secure the future of the university. We have our education mission and our research mission are our two primary missions. And since we're a perpetual institution, not knowing what's going to happen in 50 or 100 years, we saw this as an opportunity to secure our future by having land to be able to develop in the future. One of the interesting things about it was that I looked at preparing for this, I looked at early Regents communications about the purchase, and certainly working with the city has always been a part of that, about future development plans. And at the time we had no development plans, we still have no development plans. But throughout the period since we purchased the property, we've been in discussions around adding it to the comp plan, flood mitigation for sure since the beginning, and then also around annexation and future development. And so that's where we are today as a culmination of those conversations.
And just a little bit about the history of the property. What was it before CU purchased it?
So it was a former mine. So they're basically mining rock and other materials out of the ground there. So whenever we purchased it from the mining company. And they had wrapped up their mining, and so they were looking to dispose of the property.
Okay, all right, well, that's really helpful background on the history of the property and CU's ownership of it. So then, Sam, just to ask you, how did that site then become in the focus of the City of Boulder and then the subject of a potential annexation?
That site is a critical site for Boulder for a lot of reasons, right? It's a gateway site to the city. It's what people see when they're coming in. It's 308 acres. It's right there on South Boulder Creek, so there's a lot of habitat considerations. It's where 36 enters the city. So this has always been a property that's been important to the city. What has made it even more important than all of the things we just heard from Derek and me was as we studied flood mitigation for South Boulder Creek, which is one of the biggest drainage ways in the entire city, we realized that the only place to put a flood control project that would work was right there along the north end of the property against US 36. And so top of the list for me is protecting Boulderites' health and safety. And flood risk, we are the highest flood risk city in the entire state of Colorado. We have more required flood insurance policies than Denver and Colorado Springs put together. So this is the top item for a city council person who's looking after the health and safety of the city. So that is what is the precipitating event. We completed those studies. We now understand how to build that project. We've down selected the flood design, and we've been discussing with CU the entire time how we would coordinate both their annexation proposal and our flood project. So that's kind of a quick summary of why that is such an important property to the city.
Yeah, that's really helpful. And so then I understand, so the city approached CU about this potential annexation. And then I wonder, Derek, from your perspective, you can describe what were the university's goals in the annexation process and how does this agreement meet those goals?
Yeah, I think first of all, as Sam mentioned, flood mitigation. I mean, the people that are in harm's way today are our neighbors, family members, and many close associates of the university. And so getting flood mitigation to that large of a group of people is the top priority. Beyond that, for annexation, what we're looking to do is secure rights, development rights that are flexible enough for the future, but that can give the community certainty about what would be built out there, the scale of the development, that sort of thing. Not having development plans, we can't show exact buildings or locations of buildings out there, but certainly we do value our place in the community, and I think informing to the best degree we can the community about what our plans are out there is warranted.
Okay, that makes sense. And I imagined it's also long-term future goals. In particular, was housing of interest?
Yeah, so our primary focus on there is going to be housing, and so we anticipate, and we've anticipated about 1,100 units. If we can go more than that, we certainly will, because we recognize that every unit out there has an impact on the community and can help relieve the pressure on the real estate market here in Boulder. And certainly, we would love to be able to bring some of our community members from down 36 into the community. We feel that having our employees be members of the community is both beneficial for the university and the community itself.
Yeah.
Also, that helps us achieve our climate goals. We're lowering CO2 emissions by those in commuters, and we're actually, by creating this campus and by the transit programs that will run between this campus and the main campus, actually probably pull some cars off the road here in Boulder as well. So we're looking, there's a lot of ways that we think we can exemplify benefits to this project, housing being the number one.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And in terms of transportation, I'm sure that the gondola from the South Campus
definitely the gondola
is on the list. Okay, just checking. Gondola. So I just wonder, Sam, from your perspective, what goals is the proposed annexation agreement meeting for the City of Boulder, aside from the flood protection? And then just so our audience knows, what are the next steps in the final approval process?
Got it. Well, other goals that we have, and one which is way at the top of the list, is open space habitat preservation. So one of the best habitats, wetland habitats in all of the state, is on South Boulder Creek right there, US 36. And so in our discussions with the university, we have come to an agreement where The city would end up owning about half of the property, 155 acres, some of which would be for flood mitigation, but the majority of which would be for open space purposes, which include both habitat preservation and restoration of the old gravel mining site, as well as recreation opportunities. So there has been a key focus on habitat and recreation. Another key focus has been affordable housing. And so we have worked with the university to map out the development so that housing will be built first before any classroom space might be built, and housing will be built preferentially. So we have a 2-to-1 ratio on square footage, which will be housing first, and twice as much housing square footage as any non-residential square footage like classrooms or research. And there's a cap on the amount of non-residential that could ever be built there, 750,000 square feet. So there's a ton of certainty about what will go there, and that's really important to our community.
Sure.
Something in our charter that's critical, of course, is our 55-foot height limit. And in our agreement with the university, there will be a height plane over the entire site, which will keep buildings to no higher than 55 feet. So that's a quick summary as far as what's next. It will be a planning board this Thursday. And then we will have first reading August 3rd, I think, for council, and then the public hearing will be September 9th. Cool. So that's our process.
All right, well, it's exciting. I know the process is moving along now, but it's been a long, involved process of discussions, call them negotiations, between the city and the university to arrive at this place, which it sounds like it's great mutual benefit. So really excited about this. So listen, it's a partnership, all of us. The university is critical to our economy. So those who want to be engaged, make sure to follow the city council process and weigh in to make sure that your voice is heard in the discussion around approval of this annexation agreement. And I thank Derek so much for being with us today, as well as our mayor, Sam Weaver, both great friends. So thank you guys for being here. So that's it for this discussion of Chamber Chat. Just a couple of reminders. One, make sure to show up and register for that disc golf throwdown. That's going to be on July 28th. We have our Leadership Fellows applications. They're due on July 26th. Make sure to get them in if you want to be the next future leader like these individuals. And then third, our Business Women's Leadership Group event. That is going to be on August 11th. That's going to be just a fascinating discussion about the impact of COVID on women in the workplace. And then finally, we're going to have our Boulder Chamber football kickoff event. We don't want to miss you there. You got to be there. So that's going to be on August 20th. Details to come. And so that's it from here. We'll see you next time on Chamber Chat.